Hi everyone, Shulagh Jacobs, and I'm here with Erkan Ali, and we're here for the second part of our conversation that we started last week, creating bonds in times of crisis. Last week was an interesting experience because we kind of winged it a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we both felt uneasy about the subject. I think we both came to some kind of realization about how relationships are going to look here on in, or at least how they look right now. They may look here on in, a bit more accurate. But it's kind of whatever it is. It's not what we were accustomed to. It's not what we grew up with. It's not what we know and understand readily. So it's a whole new world.
Yeah, I had some quite profound realizations all through this journey about how the nature of relationships was changing, and it was very much a forced kind of change, and that in itself made me feel quite uncomfortable, for sure. And especially someone in my position who's, single and kind of wanting to mingle, to put it. Can't think of a better way to put it, but someone who really felt that I had the best bits of life ahead of me, and so how you kind of shape that new reality in a way that works for you, and in a way that you can still grow and be who you really want to be, and enjoy the best bits of life that you see other people enjoying.
Look, I mean, I don't know you that well, right? But I've come to know you, I think, very well in the last three months or 3.5 months now. But you seem, from what I knew of you from before, you seem very like a lot more self-assured, a lot more comfortable in your skin, a lot more confident, a lot more willing to explore and go into uncharted areas, a lot more, I'm not using the word a lot more, but like more sovereign. Like you seem more you than when I met you, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You, and I don't mean this as any insult, but you seem kind of, this is going to sound insulting, but I don't mean it like that. But you seem like someone that could disappear in a room. Do you know what I mean? It's like you could come and go, and part of your way of being was not to be noticed, not to overstep the mark. Like now, I don't get that's the person you are now. I think if you're somewhere, you will be seen and heard. You've got something to say. Do you know what I mean? It's a different. I think it's a vastly evolved you. Nothing wrong with the. I'm not criticising it, but who you are now. I mean, because I was thinking about you and like what we're doing in these conversations, and who Shulagh Jacobs is for me, and who am I for you, and why we're doing this, and what is it about who we are that's brought us together to unravel some of these subjects. And I don't think that's a small thing. I think it's something to be acknowledged. That progress. And I think I was listening to Dean Henderson and Richie Allen
I had
on
that
Monday.
Conversation.
It was a fantastic conversation. I really like Dean Henderson, and there was this little bit towards the end where they just became mates. He says, I've never met you before. We've never met, but one day maybe we can have a pint together or hang out together. Do you know what I mean? And I thought to myself, these are there's a kindredness about when you've got that alignment, when you've got that shared vigor and zest for certain subject matters and willingness to explore. There's a bond created, even though there's not I feel very encouraged by this,
Yeah,
because we talked about the other day about possibly meeting up, because and I'm like, oh, that's going to be, well, how would you be, it's like almost like we've created a relationship in a way of interacting that's online, and the actual what we're used to is being with people, and when you meet people, you shake hands, you might give them a hug, you might you touch people, so don't be silly. You kind of have that physical, even if it's not touching, it's that physical kind of connection that I feel I've been missing that a lot. And
yeah, likewise.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's some real positives to be taken, which I didn't feel like that at the end of our last call.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different facets to this. Going back to what you were saying about my own personal journey, I was the epitome of the shrinking violet, like going back a few years. Part of what changed me was the dancing, for sure. You know, I connected to myself in a different way. So that whole thing was a journey and enabled me to really grow in confidence. But the other thing, the other journey was a process of introspection as well. And one of the things that has been on my mind throughout this has been that to really thrive and come out of this whole situation psychologically intact, I think you do need to have that level of connection with yourself and even be prepared to deepen that. One of the things I watched earlier today or listened to was an interview on 21st Century Wire between Patrick Henningsen and Richard Grannon, all about the psychology of the lockdown. And that was a really interesting chat. And they were digging into some of these aspects quite a bit. And for those people who are prepared to dig a bit deeper and, you know, transform themselves and treat this as like an exercise in personal development, you know, you do stand the chance of actually coming out of this, you know, more sovereign, stronger, and with an even better sense of yourself than you had before. Unfortunately, I think there are also a lot of people who are going to swan around in not just self-pity, but who are swallowing the narrative and who may very well struggle and, you know, may not come out of this with as strong a sense of who they are. And obviously if we do go back into lockdown and the whole situation takes a downturn, just as we're feeling that we're on the upturn, then I think that's going to screw a whole load of people over psychologically.
Yeah, I think there's a psychological journey in exploring and investigating non-mainstream information. I think it develops a level of personal reliance that we have not been conditioned to be. We use the word sovereign, but it's basically being self-ruled, you know, or monarchy. You know, monarch, to be a monarch is to be self-ruled, self-governing, and trusting your own personal judgment. And some of us have got that. Like, you know, there's a natural, you know, or you know, we talk. Recently, we've been through the Be Inspired program, and we looked at all the things that get in the way of us relating to us as that, you know, self-reliant, congruent, you know, sitting in our own genius, our own innate wisdom, and trusting our view. And I've cited all the things that got in the way of us not naturally being that way. Without, you know, why are we not like that already? Because when we're born, we're kind of these you know, these nutty little geniuses running around, tasting everything, touching everything, asking all the questions. And we go through this process of education, we go through these processes of our adult life in work and money. We're conditioned by the media and the news and, you know, industrial entertainment, industrial entertainment complex, and cultures are created. And we have, you know, if you look at how people are interacting, just walking around, people are walking on, avoiding each other, and and you know, it's kind of like it's actually staggering how easily we have been conditioned to avoid each other and stop even eye contact. You know, I mean, I mean, forget about face masks and all that stuff, but just the way we are now. And you know, in the UK, we're quite reserved. We're a little bit, you know, if you talk to anyone who's Mediterranean or Latin blood and all that kind of stuff, you know, we're a lot more animated, we're a lot more with people, we're a lot more, you know, in more Mediterranean countries and Eastern countries, people are more overtly tactile and was it demonstrative? You know, they touch each other. They, you know, for example, if I was in Turkey or Cyprus and I went somewhere, I might kiss someone on the cheek twice as a man. You know, men kiss each other all the time. They, you know, you even see men walking down the road arm in arm, and it's not a sexual or well, they say it isn't, but it's a bonding. And I once asked, why do men walk along arm in arm? It's because when you're in busy areas, they don't get separated while they're having their conversation. So they just lock arms and they just walk along together. That's what they tell us, right? But what I mean is, like, we're now noticing that people having this hesitation, and this kind of inbuilt concern about connecting. And I think we got to relearn a whole load of human interaction. How we I was going to use the word pitch. I don't mean pitch, but it's like, how do you present yourself? Someone walks into the room and all that's going there. You have to be very comfortable in your skin to allow someone to be where they're at, so they can just, you know. And I remember years ago I was being trained to be a seminar leader in front of a room of, you know, 100, 200 people. And there was this conversation about being related, and I can't say, well, how do you be related? You just be related. You know, so when someone walks in, just be like you already know them. You already be like you just be that for people, and then they can feel that and experience that, and then they can just, you know, let some of that go. So you can actually influence how people, how quickly or how readily they can open up and see the bud on the rose, the way it blooms and opens up, and then suddenly you're having amazing conversations that when we're kind of in that fear, scarcity, self-concern, self-consciousness going on. People say I'm socially awkward, you know. It's like, well, who made that up? Who made that up? When did you decide that about yourself? So I think this era is a real I didn't really see it as an opportunity, to be honest, up until kind of very recently, but it's an opportunity to kind of go, throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to be the fully most bold, the most blossomed version of me. What am I holding back? What am I holding back for, Shulagh? What's there to hold back for now? What's your excuse now?
That's it. There's no excuse. We have literally nothing to lose. We can throw everything we've got out there and just literally see what happens. That's been my feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's tough. You know, when the tough gets, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I think there is a certain level of resilience, and resilience is a word that we've been talking about within Be Inspired. You know, the idea of the Be Inspired program is to discover and connect with your inner genius, your inner purpose. You know, what they call it, peel away the layers that have gone on top of what is underneath all those layers. Is that kind of diamond, that kind of innate kind of wisdom and energy of a natural human being. And then how do we develop that persona? How do we engage with others? How do we allow others to come out? You know, there's a term that we used to use in training called charisma, and charisma is just being present to people. Just being present and related makes you, you know, it gives you that sense of charisma and charismatic appeal, and it just allows others to shed those concerns and then go, oh, it's okay. Oh, he or she, or it's okay here. People are open and they won't laugh at me and they won't ridicule me.
So it allows others to relax in your presence.
And I think that's a major leadership skill for now. You
Definitely.
know, and I think, so I've gone on a little bit here, so I will, but I was watching Mark Passio last Sunday. I think we talked about it the other day.
Yeah, we did.
I really love that guy. I have so much respect for him, you know, but I think his aggression and he talks about himself being combative in nature is now, I think, doing more harm than good. I think there's a way of being like that with the inner troops, the inner core, and you can go all out on each other because you have permissions and you built that climatization to each other's, because we're up to something in the inner core. But to be openly that way, I think I think people will come into that and just go, oh, they won't stay for it. They won't be committed to go through what they need to go through to get to where he's giving it. And that's maybe where he's at. Maybe he's at that I only want to work with the willing, and the rest of you lot can just. I don't think that's as an effective strategy as maybe more charisma and pull it, But yeah, each to their own. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has that charisma. It's just he doesn't seem to be in a place where.
No.
It's similar to some of the things I talk about in my Wielding the Sword, in that there's a skill to sharing a message and getting that message to resonate with people.
So in the context of today's talk, creating those bonds in times of crisis, I can remember you doing your first article. If I'm right, are you on to your fourth or fifth now? I can't.
That series, the thing you overlooked about conspiracy theorists, I'm just writing the fifth one.
Right.
At the moment.
So when you wrote the first one, I think you wrote it really well. By the way, I think I was really amazed at how well you wrote. But
thank you.
You're welcome, because it was good. And then you had a whole reaction and response to that, didn't you? And I think tell us a little bit about what that was like, because it's like coming out of your shell and going, I'm going to write this stuff, and I'm sure you spent a lot of time on it, got it out, and then suddenly it was a barrage of all sorts of reactions. But by the fourth one, and I imagine by the fifth one, you're not the same person writing that. You're not right. It's not the same writer. It's not the same author.
No, I've been through a bit of an evolution, but I'm one of these people who I find the transformation process quite easy and a challenge, and I enjoy it because of that. So if there's ever, if I ever find myself in a situation where I do need to reinvent, start over, I've done it several times now, so it's not as big and scary a process as it might be for other people. And those articles were really a documentation of where I was at a particular time. They still stand up in my own mind. You know how sometimes you write or you put something out there and you go back 3 months later and you think, oh, I can't relate to that anymore. I still believe 100% in what I was writing then and the place I was in when I was writing it. And after the first couple, where I did get that real intense, like half of it was a backlash, like the audience was definitely in two distinct camps. There were the people who were supporting me and who were sharing it far and wide, and then there was the other half who were like, what is this nonsense? And even people who knew me who had never seen that side of me before, they were like, who is this person? But the whole process of going through that backlash was interesting because it allowed me, and this is something that I really learned wholeheartedly from David Icke, in that once you've actually put yourself out there in a certain way, the bigger and the badder and the bolder you are with that, it almost gives you license to then say anything you want. So you can throw off the shackles, get rid of that fear, and just put yourself out there in any way that you see fit. It gives you that freedom. So you don't have to pussyfoot around anymore.
No, but I think also there's something about the wielding the sword is you become more proficient by practice, like everything. You get better at things. And I think I want to ask you a question. What, not necessarily specific relationships, but what's the nature of the relationships that you've developed because you've been writing these articles? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Because I had internet's gone unstable, so I thought you maybe missed it. Yeah. So what kind of relationships have come out of the ether, or look, I think this relationship wouldn't be like this if you weren't writing those articles. I don't think, because that's what led
No,
to us
I
saying.
mean,
Sorry, carry on.
yeah, I mean, I love the fact that I've got to know you a lot better, and we've spent time having these conversations, and the work we've done together within Beyond Mainstream, and going through the Be Inspired program and the Natural Law. Like, it's been fantastic, and getting to know people on that deeper level is very much what I'm about. I can do shallow, but it's not my preferred place to be in terms of relationships. What I've found is that, although I'm not a fan of the online space exclusively for, meeting people and making friends, I have met a lot of people and formed alliances through writing those articles. And although those people may not be, best friends in terms of people I, see every weekend, or, go out for drinks and whatever with, it's like I've formed alliances. And for the time that we're journeying down this particular road, where we're working towards a common goal, that common purpose, and trying to create some kind of positive shift in the world, it is very much a feeling of like camaraderie and companionship, which is really, really valuable for me right now.
Yeah, and I think I was just, because I was making a couple of notes while you were saying that, and I think that camaraderie is something that I was talking about back in the big collaboration days. In fact, when I first wrote the vision and mission in I can't remember, 12, 13, it hadn't changed at all. And the one that I only added two things in there. Actually, I revised it. I did one new value, which was human being first, i.e. that we're human being first, and there's all these other things that we are, father, mother, auntie, uncle, sister, brother, boss, employee, all those other contextual domains. So that was one we added. But when I revised it, I added camaraderie, and the little note next to it was journeying together. It's like, to me, what's become more, I think this has always been important, but it's become, it's become more highlighted, I guess, is who you're going to journey with, who you, and I'm not talking friendships. I'm not saying, I think Mark Pastor said, I'm not doing this for more friends, the ones I've got are useless. What do I need more? You know what I mean? But what I mean is like, this isn't about, I want to be your friend, you want to be my, like in these terms of these bonds. I want alliances. I want camaraderie. I want some kind of journeying together on a mission is more important than just friendship. Because I've got less friends now than I've ever had, but I've got hundreds of friends. I know loads of people, but I don't need more friends. What I want is alliances, like you said earlier, and that camaraderie is that I'm working with others. I'm sharing ideas with those that either taking the ideas and nurturing them and spreading them, or they're contributing something. There's something real happening, something of meaning, something of value, and it's in times of crisis that goes beyond friendship to me.
It does.
It's so much more important than I was quite Mark Pastor. You said, I've got friends who are bad people. they don't research, they don't care, they just want to consume and survive. I'm not interested in those people. If you change your mind and you want to know, come join me. I'll share the information. It's not a problem. But I ain't got time to waste on that. The challenge is urgent. There is a crisis on.
Yeah. The interesting thing with that is that a lot of people I was friends with before all this, and obviously people who I have seen what I've been up to on Facebook or whatever, because of the way they've behaved, I know they're probably not going to be friends after, at least not in the same way. So those relationships will have changed.
Yeah, I think that's healthy. You can't make an omelette without breaking an egg, right? And I remember years ago, I met this, 30 years ago, probably. I met this woman in a bar. We're talking, and we just got talking, and we just had this kind of natural buzz. And she said, "Oh, we were in rhythm. People come into rhythm, and then they go off. Or it could be in rhythm for a lot longer. And we get attached to those people. What is an old friend? Someone you met 20 years ago. When you're our age, 30 years ago, maybe longer. But if you haven't been in rhythm along that journey, what is the friendship based on now? And I've had not many, but I've had a few what I thought were my friends who were so viscerally aggressive towards what I'm sharing. I just went, oh, unfriend. It's at least online. It's nothing. It's something personal to me. I don't see it as personal. It may be for them, but to me, if we are that far apart, what's the friendship for? What, that gives you the right to abuse me because what I'm saying is that difficult for you, or that challenging, or it drives the cognitive dissonance. That's not my problem. And if that is, if friendship is about alignment and common understanding and common interests, and if that alignment's gone, let it go. It can come back again, but you're on a different journey. You're on a different mission to be playing those games. Like, I'm going to go, oh yeah, I agree with what the BBC says. No, I do not. And many reasons for that. I do not believe what the MHRA say. I do not believe what Big Pharma tell us about illnesses. I do not. Done too much work to be duped like that. Now, if you still believe in that, great. And if it's something that's going to get in the way of our personal relationship, fine, crack on. Good luck with you. I'm not responsible. You're not. We're not responsible for what other people think. Not even our children. You're not. And I think that's where people get into these altercations, and they get into these. It's like I don't argue with people anymore. I couldn't care less. If you could believe etc. You could believe whatever you want to believe. It's your prerogative. But don't tell me you put any work or effort into it. If I share some information and you just react from the mainstream perspective, and I say, how much time have you spent researching this outside the mainstream narrative? And they haven't done any. So
even simple things. It's even simple things. I was on some thread earlier where I think it was an infographic that UK Column had done with Bill Gates and all his financial, all the people he was contributing financially, and the level of their research, it's absolutely stellar, and it can all be verified. Every single thing on there, if you go to Bill and Melinda Gates' own website, on their homepage, down to the bottom, there's a button you can press which will bring up a little database of all the people they donate money to. And it makes for some reading, I can tell you.
Yeah, same with Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Black Lives Matter funded by big corporates. It's not a secret. Yeah,
so someone had posted this infographic, and below it, someone else had posted bullshit. And something like that can be verified within the space of about 5 minutes. It just shows the level of.
So how can you have respect for anyone that is that uninformed? I think that's
anyone who's that lazy. That's the other thing.
Because it's like this. Yeah, I posted something the other day about money creation. I think I mentioned this the other night. Banks create money out of nothing when they make loans. The Bank of England has said this. It's been in Parliament. It's been said. I posted something, and then they go wrong. I'm like, okay. So I took the video of the debate in the House of Parliament in November 2014, posted it there, left it there, nothing. So it's like how can you really respect that? You can't respect it. And I won't go as far as Mark Pesce says that's a bad person, but it is a bad person. In terms of what we're dealing with, the challenges that are ahead of us, and people are that uninformed, how can you have bonds with people at the level of, you know, really, really valuable, grounded, authentic bonds with people that are that uninformed and that ignorant, or lazy, or willfully cynical of anything that doesn't fit what, you know, BBC, Sky, Times, you know. I can't respect it.
It's a trust issue as well, because, you know, I'm looking for people who, at some level, I can trust to do the work and support me in my mission and journey for as long as it aligns with theirs. And I will willingly do the same for them. But when you surround yourself with people who you can't trust to support you on any level whatsoever, then
what are you hanging around for?
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's, and I think, you know, given, let's go back to the title of this conversation, is creating bonds in times of crisis. I want to know that the people that for me to respect somebody, I've got to. I'm not saying I disrespect people or you have to be horrible to them. Don't get me wrong. We're talking about bonds in times of crisis. Is who around you is at a level of your level of understanding, competence, and cognitive understanding. It doesn't make anybody less valuable. It's not that kind of thing. But if I was a racing driver and I'm going to talk race driving, and you've got L plates or you haven't even got a driving license, I would talk to you at a level of a novice and unconsciously incompetent person in that area. And you don't have to be, you know, patronizing or rude or anything like that. But it's like, if someone's asking you about race driving and you're an accomplished racing driver and they haven't been on track and they've never done that sort of thing, you can't talk to them at the level of race driver. You could talk to them from the level of race driver. You can't talk to them at the level of race driver. It's like, I think we mentioned this the other day, and it's like going to do martial arts, and there's your instructor, 2, 3, 4 Dan martial artists. He's not going to have, he can't engage with you at the level of his level. He needs to engage with you at the level you're at, and that's mastery. You know, mastery in communication, mastery in making is if you are proficient and and you have an expertise or a cognitive understanding of a level of what's going on in the world now, and you talk to people, and as soon as they open their mouth, you can work out where they're at. And if you listen, you can work out where they're at, and then just meet them, you know, maybe there, and if you can get them to there, great. You know, but what we do is we kind of come in from here and then try and get them to, they're not, you know, if they're not up for it, be aware of that, because it's just painful for everyone. And I think I know this is going to sound a little bit transactional, but salespeople, good salespeople, sort. They don't sell to everybody. You know, you just go, yeah, not for you, not for you, not for you. Oh, you're interested. Okay, let me find out a level of interest. Okay, not for you. Not for you, not for you, not for you. Okay, la, 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 bing, 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 done. You know? And what an amateur will do is try and give everybody the same level of engagement, regardless of where they're at, because they won't ask the questions, they won't engage at the level of where they're at, rather than trying to get them to where they want to get them. You know, this whole idea of closing people or convincing people or debate. In fact, when I started being inspired, what I said to him, I'm not going to debate you on this. If we're going to debate, this is going to take a whole lot longer. I'm going to share information. You work it out for yourself where you're at with it. And where you're at is fine. But I'm not going to debate you, because that is not the purpose of this program. The purpose of it is to unveil. You know, and if we can unveil and bring people with us, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a fantastic place to be. You know? Yeah.
There's that level of pre-qualification before you start expending all the energy. And going back to those articles I wrote, you know, this was something I learned from those threads, in that I could spend hours just arguing people who were outright attacking me and just weren't prepared to listen. And I had to run away from the computer in the end because it was just taking so much out of me.
So that's you doing your apprenticeship.
Yeah.
doing your training.
And what I learned from that was just to take as much time as I needed to compose myself and only engage when I wanted to engage and with the people who I wanted to engage with. You know, you don't owe anything to anyone in that respect.
No, I think that's really important. I think so. There's a lot to learn here. There's a lot to, you know, how you carry yourself, how you hold yourself, how you, and the other thing I found is how you explain the information at the level you can. You know, sometimes people say to me, "Why don't you explain it in more detail?" I'm like, because that's not really my. I'm not as, I may understand it highly technically, but I'm not as good as explaining it as maybe someone who, you know, is a specialist in GC math or an
epidemiologist.
Yeah, because that's not my specialism. And I think that's the other thing is knowing at the level you're engaging at, and then let people, if someone, you know, because you know, if you land a very left brain, detail orientated person and they go prove it, I'll say, well, you obviously want the proof. Here's some information. Go work it out. You know, work that out for yourself. I'm not going to debate you on it. And people go, you don't answer any of my questions. I'm not here to answer your questions. If you want to find out what you want to find out, go find it out. If you think it's not worth your time and you think I'm going to give you the answer and that may go, oh, Erkan said it's blah, blah, so it must be true. You shouldn't believe anybody. Again, that's not sovereign, is it? You know, no. Shulagh tells me something, I go, oh, that must be the way it is. No, you've got to work out for yourself, and that I have respect for.
Yeah, what I hadn't accounted for was like how infantile people were in their approach to this. And I think we touched on this in the natural law call last night, right at the end, with teachability, and where it was easy to completely underestimate the amount of legwork we've done with our own research and overestimate the work that other people may have done. And so when, you know, going back to what you were saying about meeting people where they're at in terms of trying to impart information or to get it to stick, then you really do have to simplify things and almost sort of dish it out in like tiny little bite-sized
and that's
chunks.
I you know, that when you saying that, it makes my heart sink, because I think people have been so dumbed down. They want it in an 18-minute TED talk, or they want it in give it to me in like 5 points. You're like, no, I'm not going to do that. You want to that's reductionism, and then it's binary, agree, disagree. And that's how they've been talked to by the BBC and Sky and the newspapers. You're either on this side or you're on that. So you're either with us or against us. You either agree with this narrative that it's this way, or you're just got to be dismissed or undermined because you're not following the official line. And I think
it also communicates a lack of interest, lack of investment in you know, whatever the outcome of all of this may be, which is quite frightening.
Well, if you haven't heard of the, you know, was it the economic
World Economic Forum?
Yeah, the World Economic Forum. Or you haven't heard of Agenda 21 or Agenda 30? Now there's an Agenda 50 I heard about the other day. You haven't heard about Codex Alimentarius. You haven't heard of this, and you haven't heard of that. And I'm like, well, okay, what have you heard of? Where are you at? So in terms of that, you know, if you know, like, I mean, no one's talking about 5G at the moment. I haven't heard. Really, I think, you know, Black Lives Matter has done a fantastic job of getting us off piste, because this isn't about race. This isn't about countries and borders. This is about a global move for power and suppression of the species. And you're worried about what colour you are. And I can say that as a non-white person, and people say, well, you are white. I'm like, no, but I'm not politically white. I'm not English, you know. And so I can say this. The Black Lives Matter is a complete distraction. And I've got friends I really respect that are still kind of, racism. Look, forget racism. This isn't the time to be looking at divide and conquer. This is a time of unite us as a species, you know. And we talk about what we talk about the people that are, or the entities that are encroaching on our freedoms and our liberties. Let's talk about them. Let's not talk about race. That's been going on for decades and centuries. Let's talk about what's really important now is a massive power grab. And if we're not talking about that, you're being sidestepped. You know, I went through a phase where I'd say to people, if we're not talking about money creation, there's nothing else to talk about. Because why talk about anything else? You know, make poverty, what was it? Make poverty history. There was this whole, what is it, make poverty history about a few years ago? Well, why talk about poverty? Talk about money creation. You know, let's talk, you know, have you heard, I mean, I don't watch much mainstream, but have you heard anything about immune boosting? Boost your immune system?
Zero. That's why I knew all this was rubbish, because the guidance that was given was a complete inversion of what
was it? I think the head of YouTube said any kind of rubbish about vitamin C, we're going to take it off YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, Clive DeCarle's channel got.
Yeah. Well, Max Eigen's gone now. Max Eigen's gone. I mean, they're just shutting down channels of anybody or anyone sharing information. You know, are we that afraid? If what the mainstream is saying is correct, why are you so afraid of these nutcases? Why can't you just let them say what they, I mean, who's the guy on Talk? Is it Talk Radio, Talk Sport, or whatever his name is? James, is it James? I forgot his name.
I don't listen to that, so I don't know his name.
He's a revolting man. You know, he said he's if you're going to come on the channel and talk about 5G or anti-vaccine, I can't let you on because
I saw that clip. Yeah.
All right, you are disgusting. That is an attack on free speech and lack of debate. What we're going to do, we'll go say, yeah, you know, and it's not a binary. It's not vaccines are good or bad. There's a whole myriad of, there's vaccines that have done huge damage to people, proven. £4.2 billion in payouts in America on vaccine injuries. What? So it's not a worthy discussion. But people go, yeah, it's like rubbish, all that. Yeah, dismiss it. Man, you are an insult to what it means to be a human being. You've been given a brain, you've been given eyes and ears, and the ability to sniff out crap, and this is what you're doing with that. It's insulting. So if I meet people like that, I'm not okay. Well, okay, fine. Pack it. You can't do anything with that.
No, it's like people don't want to take the responsibility. They're waiting for the government to come along and save them.
You're gonna put a face nappy on. Is it face diaper? We're going to quarantine healthy people. When in history have we quarantined healthy people? You're going to put old people back into care homes with illnesses, and they go, oh, they're maybe we're going off topic here, but I'm just like, if you don't have an inkling or at least an understanding of what's going on, you know, I can't help you. I don't want to. Sorry. You need to grow up. You need to grow up.
It is astounding. It is
staggering. It is staggering. And I think connecting and maintaining those bonds in these times and connecting with people that actually have an idea of what's going on is what it is to be, I think, what it is to be a freedom fighter. Because we've got to fight for the freedom, because we're losing it very quickly.
Yeah. To me, as we said earlier, it's all about forming alliances and, you know, working towards a common goal, but not in a way that sacrifices the individual to the herd.
No, and that communitarianism, you know, that for the greater good is a really dangerous conversation, which we probably won't have got time to go into now. We're 45 minutes in.
Wow, where did that go?
Yeah, we do well. No, I think next time we should have a drink each. You should have a glass of, I don't know, whatever it is you drink. I'll have a pint. Maybe you have a pint.
Pint of wine.
A pint of yeah. Oh yeah.
That would be dangerous.
So listen, we've been a little bit heavier than usual today, and I've really enjoyed it. So if you're enjoying the Beyond Mainstream conversations, please like and subscribe to our channel. Please share it. Ask us any questions. Come back. If you're going to challenge, put your brain in gear and come prepared to discuss it. Properly. So there you go. I've thrown the gauntlet down. Any last words for you, Shulagh?
Yeah, I would just say to people, form those alliances, like put some of your relationships under the microscope, and we've got treat this as an opportunity. We've got huge responsibility for what we create going forward, and we can only do that with the right people by our sides. So look at who you've got around in your corner, and let's all work together to move things forward.
I second that. So thank you very much for joining us today on our chat. We still haven't named the show, have we, Shulagh? We've got to name it soon.
Yeah, we must.
We must name it. So it's Beyond Mainstream show at the moment, and thank you for being part of us. Like I said, like and subscribe, share, leave us some notes, give us some feedback, and join us on Facebook or on the Mighty Network platform. All the details will be below this video, and we look forward to sharing our ideas with you next time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Bye.
And cut. Okay.